Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. I'm your host, Scott Keys, and this is your channel for photography, for wildlife, and for wildlife photography. And in today's video, how would you feel if somebody used one of your images without your permission? Well, in this video, we're going to explore copyrights, protecting your images, and having those images shared without permission. I've got a real life story that just happened to me. I'm going to tell you that story right after this. Now, in today's Quick Thoughts video, we're going to talk about a real life story that happened to me, and it made me start to think about a couple of concepts around sharing images. Part of it is copywriting. So what do I really own as my own image? Protecting it a little bit. So a couple of real common sense ideas around just protecting your images. And the last part is around when people share your images, do they have a right to do it? And I'm going to give you my real life story here, break it up into a couple parts. So the story, the backstory is I see this image as I'm scrolling through one of my Instagram accounts. Now I have two Instagram accounts. I have one for bird photography. And for those of you that know me, I'm a native plant enthusiast. I tie that into a lot of my avian photography and my macro photography. And I was on that native plant account and I saw that image and I thought, wow, that looks a lot like a series I took years ago. And I went back into my archive because I think that's my image. I didn't actually see that exact frame, but I saw so many that were like it that made me think that's gotta be at least my image, or maybe it was generated by AI. Like maybe I put some out into the universe and AI, they pull information. They use reference pictures often to create images. Maybe they use this as a reference picture and simulated it and it turned out with this. But I thought, I'm pretty sure that's my image. I reached out to this organization. I was not credited at all in there. I reached out to the organization and said, like, hey, what's going on? Where did you get that image? Because I can't find it. And secondly, there's no credit here. Like, what's going on? They responded and said, kind of like, we're sorry. We're sharing this as a part of a bigger project. So a different organization was doing a project. They partnered with them. This Instagram account had nothing to do with creating the marketing, but they told me who did. And so I went over to that website and I saw the original picture. And again, I looked for photo credit, no photo credit, nothing mentioned about the picture itself, but I was pretty sure it was mine. Now I'm going to tell you the second half of that story, the resolution of this, but I want to touch on a couple of concepts first. It deals with copyrights and what you own versus what you allow to be used. And I'm not a lawyer on this. I'm going to put a reference down there that I thought to be really, really good. This was by a website. I think the name of the website is called Fair Licensing. And it talks about the copyright protections of people and what you are signing up for. So there's a misconception that when you sign or post an image on Instagram or Facebook that you lose the copyrights and that Facebook or Instagram now own that image. That is not the case. Sometimes wording can be confusing. If you've ever read something called the Terms of Service, it's really, really, really long. And it may reference something like, we have the right to share this image or this video clip. What it really means is they have the right to present it to the public. They need your permission to put it out there for others to see. It doesn't mean they're owning that image. Now, the terms of service for each company might be a little bit different. So you would want to know where you stand with that. You always will maintain the copyright. You are the creator of that image. It's your image. However, there may be some language in there that allows people to share it or reference it. You've seen a popular trend now is remixing videos or partnering with videos. So it's like one video over here, but I'm over here reacting to it or giving my thoughts on it. It's not my content. My content is my reaction to it. Now it's a gray area right here, but you'll see this a lot with music videos. So somebody might do like a breakdown of a music video. Here's my reaction to the music video. Not their music video, but they have the right to react to it. You see it with political commentary. So maybe there's an article or a video clip by CNN or Fox News, and you are reacting to that clip. You don't own the clip, but you have the right to show the clip. There's this idea around public domain. So if you're curious about that, it essentially, to me, in layman's terms, it means if something is out for the public, you have the right to react to it and actually talk about it by showing it. And there's some copyright things probably in here, probably gets a little bit trickier than this very easy explanation I'm giving, but a couple things just to think about when it comes to copyrights. So copyrights, terms of service are important. What are you actually giving them the right to do? You should know that. And then this idea about public domain, and once you put something out there, it's out there, it's in the public domain, it's not private anymore, and it would allow other people sometimes to post it with a reaction or even a critique, even if unsolicited, even without your permission. And I've thought about that as I make YouTube videos. I had this idea about, kind of pulling popular images or popular clips and doing reactions to them. I don't know that I'll do that at some point in the future. I might. But if I did, again, legally, if it's in the public domain, I'm probably okay to talk about it, even without telling the person I'm doing so. So just know that all of that is going on. There are ways, and we've probably all heard of this or even had it happen to you, where your image is taken without permission. And in that case, it's not okay. Meaning that somebody is presenting your work as their work. Maybe by suggestion, maybe not overtly doing it, but by suggestion, showing images and removing any kind of identification. There are a few ways you can try to protect from that. There aren't a ton. If somebody is going to digitally take your image, there's a good chance they're going to digitally take it, and there's not a whole lot you can do other than report it after the fact. You can, however, try to do a couple things. One, if you're posting on a website of some sort, you can downsize your image and make it smaller. Now, that's not going to stop people from digitally using it, but it might stop people from downloading it and trying to use it in like a marketing campaign or advertising or something like that. So it's just a smaller image. The resolution won't be great. Maybe that's a little bit of a deterrence. The other thing is you can watermark. I will tell you, with today's technology, removing watermarks is incredibly easy. So even if you put your name or logo or business name on a picture, it can easily be removed. I'll show you an image of my watermark. I make a little bit larger watermark and I make it transparent. So it's there, but it's hard to see. If somebody wanted to remove that, honestly, it wouldn't be a whole lot of work. I have seen other people do an overlay, meaning they put their brand everywhere over the image. So it might be a repetition of their signature or brand or logo. That's an extreme case of protection. That's probably the best way to keep other people from sharing it because that's really hard to remove. But even when you make it transparent and very light, it degrades the actual art. So you're putting something on top of your image or your picture or your artwork. It's a fine line there. So for me, I take this compromise approach. I'm sure everybody has a strategy. Just know that even watermarking an image in today's society probably isn't going to really protect it. And at some point, if you do this long enough, you're probably going to see somebody take one of your images without your permission. There are ways to do reverse image searches. So you can go onto the internet, you can search for your image, and it'll pull up that image everywhere it's been shown on the internet. So that's called a reverse image search. That can be helpful in finding it after the fact, but again, it doesn't really prevent it. So I decided to take a couple images and put them into the Google search. You could see I clicked the little camera icon, I download the image, and look at this one. Look at what happened here. I picked 3 or 4. I found a couple matches for each one. This one pulled up several. This is the lighter side. This was a Wild and Exposed podcast, by the way. Really good guys over there. But then this one intrigued me on Amazon. I've never sold this on Amazon. So there's my Wild and Exposed interview. But let's look at this one on Amazon. So how about this company selling my print, and I didn't even know about it. Like until I was making this video and just kind of showing you guys how to use Google Lens, didn't know that they used my image. So there you go. That's how it works, and that's how people steal your stuff and make money from it. So we've talked a little bit about copyrights. I touched on this idea of public domain. A couple quick ideas on how to protect things. I'm going to get to this third part of this video. Very, very short conclusion to my story. So I've reached out to one account and they said, I'm sorry, we were sharing it from another account. I reach out to that account and I scroll through that account first and I see the image in question. Okay, that was the original image in question. By the way, below it, I'm going to put an image of another from that series. So this was actually what I put out into the internet. And again, I'm thinking, is this AI created? And I noticed another one of my images on their site. So they have two of my images on their site. I realized the second one, I remember this one. This was put into an Autobahn calendar years and years and years ago. And that was a contest entry. I had entered this image of a hooded merganser into a contest. It was used in their national calendar. And I probably checked a box that said you have permission to use it in your marketing. Every contest is different. So I entered these into a contest. And then it struck me, that other image that I had seen originally, did I put that into a contest? And I looked in my folder, I keep it by year. I don't really enter any contests anymore, but back then I entered a few. And I saw the image in question in the contest folder. And then it struck me. They got it from a contest entry that I made years ago. Now, in the meantime, they actually responded to me. And I'm not putting their name up here or anything. They were very gracious. They were very nice. The response was completely appropriate. And they said, hey, we're sorry. We pulled it from the National Audubon Society. They apparently have a list of images or a catalog that you can choose from. They did not give photo credit, which I was a little bit disappointed in that part, but they did go back and remove anything or add my photo credit to it. I thought that was a fair thing. I think it was done originally, and I don't use the word ignorance negatively. I just think it was done in ignorance. They just didn't really know. And a lot of people are running on very tight budgets, very small groups. I know what it's like to try to run a business by yourself or do things with a small budget. And sometimes you just don't know, or you take a shortcut or you grab something. And in this case, the image was theirs to share because I allowed them to. So it's an important concept with contests, because you really do have to understand the nature of that contest. I'll talk about a couple things before I wrap this video up as it deals to contests. With some contests, like this Autobahn, they will give you an option to opt in or out. Sometimes you're automatically opted in and you have to opt out, meaning you enter the contest, you give them the rights, and you have to check a box that says you can't use this. However, a lot of contests don't even give you that option. With many contests, they're going to say you submit an image, but when you do, we have the right to use that image. They don't take the copyright, but they have the right to use it. I'm sure there's a legal term for that. If somebody knows it, throw it down in the comments. But they have the right of use. That's really, really important to understand. It sours me, honestly, from a lot of photo contests. There's a couple magazines I can think of that run photo contests. It's how they get their material to fuel the magazine. Like, the images in the magazine are just contest entries over the course of years that fit into the article that they're writing. So they don't have to hire a staff photographer. They don't have to go in and pay for images. They don't even have to go to a stock company and buy images. They're getting their images from the contest submissions. And even though the contest may have a prize of $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, it's probably certainly cheaper to get a plethora of wildlife images for that magazine. Make sense? So you just got to know where you stand. By the way, I did a talk recently with the Journal of Wildlife Photography. They have a contest there. They do not do that photo sharing. They will, the winner is obviously announced and they'll share the photo that way. But I thought it was really neat that they made it a special, when I did the talk for them, along with a very talented photographer, Gail Bisson. They made it a point to say, like, we don't fund our website that way, or we don't fund our organization through the use of contest pictures. They just run this contest. So I'll give them a little plug over here as well. So just some thoughts about this sharing. I thought you might find this interesting, especially when you get back to that idea of, I entered a contest, I did it to myself. But I will tell you, if you're running one of these organizations, even a small nonprofit, you really want to ask for permission when you can. It is really a nice courtesy. Sometimes we have the right to do things. I say this a lot. You'll hear it in my videos probably more than once. But just because you have the right to do something doesn't make it the right thing to do. So did they have the right to use my image? Yes. But the right thing to do is probably to say, like, hey, we want to use your image. Are you good with that? Or at the very least, make sure that you provide the proper photo credit. When it comes to licensing or giving out images, my policy is, if you are a for-profit business, I will charge you a fee to use one of my images. I think that's fair. If you are a nonprofit image, especially if it's around conservation, bird photography, I told you my love of native plants. I'll give you some examples. I work with a local group that puts out this magazine. It's called American Hawk Watcher, right here in Eastern Pennsylvania. And each year I take images in this area and I just say like, hey, if you guys want some, let me know. I'll give you the images. You use them for whatever you want. So they use those images because it's a nonprofit. I actually know the person that puts out the magazine. Super nice guy. So I'm happy to give images to them as much as they want. Recently, I got this in the mail. This was kind of nice. This is done through a branch of the Smithsonian, and there's a bunch of organizations involved with this. I'll try to put a thing down there to let you know everybody involved in this one. But this is a photo. They were looking for grassland species, and this is a bobolink. This is native milkweed plant over here. It made a nice cover for their magazine or their printout. And this is an educational piece. So this is for the public to bring awareness around grassland birds. I thought it was really, really great. So again, free use. You guys can use it. I'll send you the images, high-res images. Feel free to do what you want. If it was a for-profit company, I'd probably feel a little bit differently. Maybe I'd have to barter or get something back in return. I'm sure that makes sense to most of you. So anyway, let me know down in the comments. What are your thoughts on this? Any neat stories to share? You know, once your image is out there and it's taken from you, obviously you can report it to the social media site is normally where it happens, but you can report that and be diligent about it, but not always easy to resolve. So if you've got some stories to share about that, feel free to do so down below. If you forgot to subscribe to the channel, I don't know how that's possible. Make sure you hit the subscribe button now. Hit the bell for notifications. It lets you know when I have a new video out. Hit that like button, and that'll push the content out to like-minded photographers. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed this quick thoughts video. Check out my playlist down below. And as always, I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.